We have the council minutes of December the 14th, council minutes of January the 25th, and the special council public planning minutes of January the 26th, 2011. We have a motion to that effect, please. Councillor Buck, Councillor Ballard. Comments? Councillor Gaertner.
Thank you, Mayor Daw. I'd like to speak to the first set of minutes, December 14th. As Mr. Leach knows from the DVD, I was not the mover of this motion, and I want my name removed from the record as the mover. I know there was confusion around this issue, but that's not my issue. So before the minutes are moved, I'd like to ask Mr. Leach what he's going to do to remedy the situation.
I'll ask Mr. Leach to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I indicated in the memorandum, which is on the agenda as item 6, at the time that this matter was considered, the motion was read out by myself, and Councillor Gaertner requested a recorded vote. And the chair, Mayor Daw, asked for a seconder, and the seconder was Councillor Buck. And in so doing, I believe he recognized Councillor Gaertner as the mover. It's unfortunate that she did not indicate at the time that she wasn't the mover, because I think the chair, as well as myself, understood that she was. Subsequently, a recorded vote was taken, and the action was confirmed by Council's confirmation bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. I really don't know how I could have objected to me being the mover, as I didn't know that I was the mover. So I just have a couple of questions to ask you. From the DVD, did I indicate by raising my hand that I was moving the motion?
Mr. Leach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In response, no, I don't believe you did. As I indicated, you requested a recorded vote, and the mayor requested a seconder, and the motion was seconded. And in requesting a seconder, he was acknowledging you as the mover of the motion.
Thank you. So I did not raise my hand to move the motion. Did I say that I wanted to move the motion?
Mr. Leach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, but as I indicated, you did not indicate after the motion was put on the floor that you weren't the mover, and at that time I would have thought, and I believe that it was apparent that you were.
Mr. Leach, this is bordering on...
Point of order.
No, excuse me. Mr. Leach is insulting...
Councillor Buck, you have a point of order.
Mr. Leach has been asked several questions, has asked each of them, and Councillor Gaertner clearly doesn't accept the answers, but she can't keep on. And I believe the recorded vote indicates Councillor Gaertner's position on this question. So there isn't really any need for any further clarification.
Thank you, Councillor Buck. Councillor Gaertner, do you have any further comments?
I certainly do. Minutes are to provide an accurate record of what happened. The DVD is very clear that I did not ask to move the motion. I did not raise my hand to move the motion. I would have no knowledge that I would have been assumed to be the mover of the motion. In my opinion, if the minutes stand as they are now, this record has been doctored.
Councillor Gaertner, that is a very offensive thing that you just said.
Yes, and it is offensive, but it is true.
It is absolutely not true.
It is absolutely true. Do you have the DVD ready to go? I asked Mr. Leach by email today to have the DVD ready to go so that council could decide for themselves. Through you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Leach, do you have the DVD ready to go?
Mr. Mayor, you can
Councillor
let
Buck.
it go on. The fact is that Councillor Gaertner jumped the gun when she asked for a recorded vote before there was a motion on the table. She created the confusion.
Well, obviously, one way to address this is for Councillor Gaertner to put a motion on the table to reconsider the procedural bylaw, or pardon me, the confirming bylaw that was passed for that meeting, which will require a 2/3 vote of council for reconsideration. Would you like to do that?
Mr. Mayor. No. And I'm assuming, Councillor Buck, that if this was you who was in this case, you would be saying exactly the same thing. I am not the clerk. I am not the chair. I am not the person who's in charge to make sure that motions are moved correctly. It is up to Mr. Leach to decide how this situation will be remedied.
I am going to ask Mr. Leach to explain what he just said to me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If it is the decision of council that these minutes are not accurate and they do not want to adopt these minutes, then I would request that someone move that that particular item be struck from the minutes. Then, if that carries, they could be adopted, in which case I will bring forward that confidential memorandum to another council meeting so that it can be received and become part of the record.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. Would someone care to make that motion?
I would care to make that motion.
Is there a seconder for Councillor Ballard? I presume, Councillor Gaertner, that you are moving to strike that from the minutes. Is that correct?
I am striving to take myself off the record as the mover of the motion. And if this is how it's to be accomplished, that's fine.
Councillor Ballard, I believe you're seconding that motion. Is there any comments or questions? Councillor Buck?
As the seconder of the motion that apparently was never made, what part of this record is being expunged? The recorded vote? The seconder of the motion?
Mr. Leach?
All of that. The recorded vote was called on the motion, and if there was no motion, then there was no recorded vote.
Any other questions, comments on this? Councillor Thompson?
I find it interesting that in the fall of the last term, there was a similar issue that came about where people were arguing about whether or not somebody had done something and referred to the DVD, and I believe it was the previous council that voted and said that they were placing their trust in the clerk and in the clerk's decision. And so last term, there was one viewpoint shared by Councillor Gaertner, and this term, it's completely opposite.
Councillor Gallo?
When would this come back before if the motion on the table were to move forward? Tonight?
Mr. Leach?
No, I would, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, in response to the question, what I would do is I would put that confidential memorandum that was just the subject of a motion to receive I would put it back on an agenda and would have to be received by council, and I could do that at the next council meeting if that is council's wish.
And in doing so, through you, Mr. Mayor, does it change any of the content of the motion? Does it change any of the business of the corporation?
Mr. Mayor, in response, no, it would not. This was not a substantive motion. It was simply a motion to receive a piece of correspondence, a memorandum.
So my view of this is that it appears to be a genuine either misunderstanding or miscommunication that has happened. I don't think the results of the motion are any impact on the corporation. And if a councillor is suggesting that they had no indication of moving the motion forward, and there's a gray area whether or not it happened or not, I mean, I'm fine with fixing that.
Are there any other comments or questions? Could I ask you, Mr. Clerk, to read the motion out again for us? I'm sorry, the Councillor Gaertner's motion, just to make sure that we're all, do you have that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is that item be struck from the minutes.
Councillor Abel?
It distresses me that we, as council, get hung up on, we can't even proceed in our normal point of business before the town, and perhaps we're just new. I know I get very confused with these. It seems minor. Nothing is going to change. I don't see why we would proceed with this motion, and we should make a note that there's a protest or a remark that Councillor Gaertner says she didn't put that as a motion, and leave it at that, and let's go, because nothing's going to change otherwise. I would just like to move on. Thank you.
Councillor Gaertner?
In response to the comment that was just made, again, minutes are to be an accurate reflection of what took place at a meeting. So something important is going to change. The minutes of the record of the meeting is going to show that I was not the mover of the motion. And to me, that is an important change.
Councillor Buck?
I move the question.
Call the question, please.
That needs to be seconded.
Councillor Abel? All in favor of the motion?
The motion is to move the question.
No, the motion is, the motion is to move. Okay, the motion is to move the question.
Thank you. Recorded vote, please.
You wish a recorded vote on the motion to move the question?
Are we voting to move the motion?
We're moving the question right now.
And the question would be?
To call the question for the vote.
Apologize.
All in favor? All in favor of Councillor Gaertner's motion?
Recorded vote, please.
Mr. Leach?
Councillor Abel.
No.
Councillor Ballard.
Yes.
Councillor Buck.
No.
Councillor Gaertner.
Yes.
Councillor Gallo.
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys.
Yes.
Councillor Peary.
No.
Councillor Thompson.
No.
Mayor Daw.
Yes.
It's 5 in favor, 4 opposed. The motion carries.